I'm Brickroad, and welcome to Let's Play Metroid Prime. This is a great game. It's one of the best games in the series, and I like that it's one of the best Metroid games because it's so different from my favorite Metroid game. And this is just a test recording I did. We'll just go ahead and delete this, get that out of the way. Yeah, Metroid Prime. We gotta set some options here. We'll be playing on normal mode instead of hard mode, because hard mode is basically just make the game not fun mode. We need to crank the brightness all the way up so it plays nice with the capture card, and we need to turn the screen stretch all the way up. That's as widescreen as Gamecube gets right there. We need to controller, reverse axis on, rumble off, and that should be good. Okay, let's hop in. Metroid Prime. I'm going to be doing 100%, and that means collecting all the items in the game, but there's another, like, parallel progression that the game keeps track of, and it has to do with how Metroid Prime tells its story. And Metroid Prime has the most innovative and one of the most elegant solutions to a problem that a lot of video games have, is that how do you convey a game with a rich and detailed story that can be replayed, and Metroid Prime walks that tightrope perfectly. And it's almost astounding how somebody in 2002, Retro Studios got this so right. Is you have a game that's meant to be replayed over and over and over, and you're supposed to learn new things about it every time you play and get better at it. But on the other hand, you've got these unskippable cutscenes that are just thrown in your face. How do we resolve that issue? And the way a lot of games resolve it is, like modern games, like BioShock and stuff, is you pick up like the audio logs, right? That's kind of somebody records their deepest, darkest secrets into a cassette tape and just leaves it laying around, and you pick it up and you can listen to it. But you still have to listen to it at some point in the game, which for me usually means, oh, it's an audio log. I'm going to set the controller down and listen to the audio log, because if I play it and I'm walking around, it's going to get drowned out by the game, or it'll get interrupted, or who knows. And then, of course, BioShock games still have the cutscenes. Like Tomb Raider still has the cutscenes. Metal Gear still has the cutscenes. Metroid Prime doesn't have the cutscenes, and it has a much more elegant solution to how it conveys its rich setting information. Because there's two different factions, the Space Pirates and the Chozo, and they both have lots and lots of stuff that the player needs to learn through the game, so they can know what's going on in the game and how things got to where they are. And the way we do it is with the scan visor. You have a visor you turn on, and you're now looking through the world through this little magnifying glass, and you push a button to scan everything in the world and get as much or as little information as you want. This game was released... I mean, it's a stark contract to the systems game, the sister game of Metroid Prime, which was Metroid Fusion, which was released at the same time. In fact, I think it was literally released the same day, because Metroid Fusion just does the big old cutscenes in your face kind of storytelling method. And I do apologize, because I know this is going to be a very clicky Let's Play. I'm playing the Gamecube version. I have the Wii version of this game. I don't like it. I don't like aiming with the remote. I don't like... Because you don't have to aim with the remote. You got to do everything with the remote. You got to navigate menus. You got to swap beams and do all this with the Wiimote. And I don't like the Wiimote. So it's going to be clicky, because Gamecube is a very clicky controller. I do apologize. I was talking about story. That's one of Metroid Fusion's like 73,000 biggest flaws, is that the game is constantly stopping you so you can just absorb the story, and it doesn't care if it's your first playthrough or your 30th playthrough. You're going to watch every line of dialogue every single time you play, whether you like it or not. Whereas in Metroid Prime, we can scan things here, and even if you are scanning things, you don't have to read them. You can just pass them up. So that's our first scan. I do have a spreadsheet here of all of the scans and all of the items to make sure that we're not going to miss anything. So hopefully we don't miss anything. We should be pretty good. This game also does have flaws, like Metroid Fusion. The first flaw is it's a first-person shooter, and who likes those? I mean, I don't. Screw that, Space Pirate. The second flaw is that it's a first-person shooter that predates the control stick. Like, I'm spinning my second right stick, and the camera's not moving at all. Instead, though, you have two different features in Metroid Prime that make the game playable, even though you can't manually, you don't have like free look, you don't have like mouse look, you don't have a right stick or anything like that. The first thing is you can hold down the R button, which sticks Samus in place, and now she turns around like a turret, so she can now aim around. And she has a very weak field of vision up and down, so it's hard to aim like directly above you. But the other thing you have is a lock-on. So if you see a monster and you want to shoot it, you can just lock onto him. We got to scan this thing before we jump into it. New research has been added. This is the map station. This will download our map. So yeah, between that, like, turret mode and the lock-on, all of the combat in the game feels really good. And that's something that the sequels to this game, Metroid Prime 2 and 3, didn't really get right, because they made the combat so much more pervasive in that game. Metroid Prime is an exploration game that has combat elements in it. Metroid Prime 2 and 3 are combat games that have exploration elements to them. And that's the biggest, that's the most concise way that I can convey my feelings for this series as a whole. Metroid Prime is an exploration game, and the combat, it feels very slow and very clunky, but it's okay because the combat was designed with these control features in mind. With the lock-on and the turret mode. I think there are turrets through here, speaking of. Oh, maybe not. All these space pirates are like half dead. It's crazy. There are turrets somewhere, because that's my next scan on the list. I look over, creature, auto defense turret is the next thing. Oh, okay, it's going to be in here. Yeah, that guy, that's what I want to scan. That's the door. We don't need to scan the door, we need to scan the turret. There we go. Alright, spreadsheet is doing well. Now we just killed this turret, it's fine. So we can hold down if you hold down the lock button, which is L, you can strafe back and forth like this. And then you can hold down both of them to lock on and aim at the same time if you want. But you've got, that's what your shoulder buttons do in this game, is control your movement, basically. And the charge beam eats pickups, which is very handy. This is where we want to scan Fall of Zebes, new pirate data. So we're not going to actually read all of the stuff. I just want to get the logbook complete, is my goal here. So, in case you haven't picked up on it, I don't really like first-person shooters that much. I'm warming up to them more and more as time goes by, but they're not my genre of choice. So, in the lead-up to this game, because if you guys think Metroid is the red-headed stepchild of Nintendo now, with like the Other M being its most recent major release, and then Federation Force, which was like Rocket League, I guess. Even back in the day, Metroid was kind of the red-headed stepchild. We didn't get a Metroid game on the N64, even though the N64 did have a lot of 3D and first-person games. There's a lot of things that could have been done with Metroid on the N64 that weren't. Samus's only appearance on the N64 was in Smash Brothers, actually. Believe it or not. Oh, I saw you. I see you up there. There you go. Remember this room, because we will be back in this room later. And it's kind of a cool thing. So yeah, the run-up to this game, the most recent Metroid game that had come out was Super Metroid, which is one of my favorite games ever. And this game came out in 2002, and it was 2001 that I actually sat down and played Super Metroid essentially to death. Like, I played it, I really wanted to learn everything about the game. That's how I learned, when I learned the wall jump, I learned the sequence break. At the time, there was a Super Metroid community that I was posting in that were dedicated to finding like new glitches and new routes through the game. And I was really, really pumped when they announced, we're going to do 2 new Metroid games. And one of them is going to be this 2D thing on the Game Boy Advance, and the other one is going to be this first-person shooter. And I was like, well, I'll probably play the obviously good one on the Game Boy Advance. And then maybe not so much the first-person shooter. Because who the heck wants to play a first-person shooter, you know? But to my... I mean, I did buy both. This is a save point. I did buy both games, and... Let me think if that's a true statement, because I didn't play Metroid Fusion because I didn't have a Game Boy Advance. I didn't play it until the Game Boy Player came out. I might have played Prime first, and then got the Game Boy Player later, and played Fusion on it, or if the Game Boy Player was already out, I must have played both back-to-back. I don't really remember. But anyway, I played them both pretty narrowly there, and I played them both on the GameCube. Oh, I got a ball into this schlot. Oh no, I gotta turn the schlot on first. Turn on the schlot, please. There we go. But I was blown away at the time because Fusion was a terrible game and I ended up hating it. And Prime, I ended up loving it. And all of the things I loved Prime for were, a lot of it was the things that I thought I was going to hate it for. I found the first person to be very immersive in the game. The way that everything on your HUD in the game is part of Samus's visor. You're not her visor. You're not seeing anything in the game world that she doesn't see. And I found that to be incredibly immersive. And the way that you explore through the game world in all different directions, I found the map system to be really well done. I found the level design to be really well connected. And they basically captured the essence of everything I like in Metroid in 3D. And I thought it was really good. And it didn't play like any other first-person shooter at the time. We're now out of missiles, so we'll just shoot this thing. I gotta scan this before I go any further, don't I? We better scan this queen, or else there's missable scans. There's no missable items, but there's missable scans. And we don't want to miss any scans. That would be awful. And that's it for the pirate. It's a Parasite Queen, actually. And now we have to scan anything for a while. Now we have to just escape this, because destroying this monster makes this whole pirate frigate explode. And we have to escape the frigate. And use some more of our abilities. Because you notice Samus starts with a lot of abilities. She starts with the her visors. She starts with a charge beam. Morph Ball. I think she starts with bombs, too. Various Suit and Grappling Beam. You just start the game with them. They're like, hey, you know, we're not going to waste the player's time gaining all the new, or all the abilities that they should already have. We'll just jump right into the game and give you everything. So yeah, pretty cool. You can also disable turrets if you can scan the little thing next to them, like I did there. There's lots of explodies happening here. I do tend to get lost in these rooms sometimes. Like I said, Samus's field of vision isn't great, and she has a kind of slow turning speed, so figuring out where to go in individual rooms sometimes. There's a lot of verticality in this game. A lot of rooms that kind of follow this pattern of like long vertical shaft with lots of platforms around the edges, and you kind of spiral your way up. When the game's not doing that, when the level design is doing something a little more interesting, I find the game to work really well. But there are a couple rooms in the game that don't work for that reason. I'll do what I can to avoid falling repeatedly in those kind of rooms. We'll see how it goes. We got 5 minutes to get out of here. Fortunately, I think I know the way out just fine. I think we'll be okay. As soon as we get through this ventilation system, we'll get back to the ship. Head down to the planet below. As for the story of this game, pretty standard Metroid story. Shizzle's getting real. Samus has got to go in and unrealify it. And then Ridley shows up and she's like, oh, I hate that guy. And she's like, I want to murder him. And then the whole game is about trying to murder Ridley, basically. Yeah, wait for that to blow open. Got it. Got it. I know where we're going. We're not going to run out of time. It'll be fine. We got lots and lots of time. Although this was a very tense situation the first time I played the game. So I'm like, a 6-minute evacuation scene? What? I was used to like the 2 or 3 minute ones in like Super Metroid. I don't have any missiles. Oh, I have no missiles. Okay, good. Charge Beam can blow those things up too. I don't think I'll need any more missiles here on out. At least until we get back down to the planet. This is just the introductory scene to the game, obviously. Metroid games often have these little introductory scenes. Just to kind of get yourself acclimated to the controls before things get really real. Like that boss fight with the Parasite Queen. Not really a dangerous boss fight. She doesn't really attack you that much. And when she does, you only take a couple points of damage. So, oh, there's this thing. Let's follow Wesley Crusher here on in. And of course, if you're too slow in that room, the Crusher pushes you back out. It doesn't actually damage you, just waste some time. And time, as they say, is of the essence. So here we get to use our grappling beam. There are these short little cutscenes. These little, when Samus runs into a room and looks around and it shows you important stuff. I'm okay with these cutscenes, because, like, the establishing shots of new areas when you enter them, because what tends to happen is you step into a new room, or a new area of the world, and the first large room is like a hub room that connects to lots of different areas, and it kind of does this panning establishing shot showing you the area. I'm fine with that. Some of them, bafflingly though, some of those are skippable with the start button, and some of them are not. I'm not really sure. Oh, I didn't scan that correctly. Finish scanning, please. There we go. Turn you off, buddy. Yeah, some of those cutscenes are actually skippable, and some of them are not. I won't skip any of them. We'll just watch all the little scenes, but I'm not actually going to read, like, the pirate data and stuff. We're not going to read all our research. And, oh, there's the plot contrivance. Samus gets blasted against the wall, and all her stuff breaks. Varia suit. Morph ball broken. No more missiles. No more charge beam. No more grapple beam. Oh, I guess you don't start with bombs then. So yeah, we can't do anything now. We're back to the standard Metroid find all your toys again gameplay. Which, you know, what else? It's okay. I'm fine with that. I like the Metroidvania style of game. We don't want to go that way, obviously. So I'm okay with the plot contrivance that, hey, find all your stuff again, because finding the stuff is fun. I do think the mistake here was drawing attention to it. Like, Super Metroid doesn't draw any attention to why Samus needs to find all her stuff again, and 0 players cared. Nobody cared that you... Yeah, Starship Metroid don't have your Morph Ball. Nobody... It didn't bother anybody. This game draws attention to it and makes it feel really dumb, because you're telling me that Samus can survive explosions and walk through lava and fight all these giant monsters, but if she hits a wall a little too hard, and I guess gets a robot concussion or whatever... That's beyond the pale. That breaks all her stuff in her suit. Fusion, on the other hand, had an actually decent explanation for why Samus has none of her gear. Because in that game, they talk about, like, her whole body gets corrupted with whatever. They have to literally cut her suit off of her. And I'm like, oh, they're literally removing the power suit from her body. And all her, like, biometrics are breaking down. So there's an explanation that actually works. So there, I said something nice about Metroid Fusion in the beginning of my new Metroid Let's Play. I know some of you guys like to keep track of that, because I usually have nothing good to say about Metroid Fusion. But there you go, Metroid Fusion offers a plausible explanation for why Samus has to find all her stuff again. But I offer this caveat: an explanation is not needed. Players are willing to just accept they have to find all their stuff again. So there, I said something nice about Metroid Fusion, but then I kind of couched it with as a backhanded compliment. So you don't want to compliment Metroid Fusion too much. You don't want it to go to its head. We're not going to save just yet. I'm going to hop off the ship and scan it. There's my new research. Now we'll hop on the ship and save. So yeah, we're in for the long haul. This is kind of a long game, and I am going to try to do the full clear, get all the items and all the scans. So guys, I hope you enjoy our journey through Talon 4, and I'll see you in the next video.
Shoutouts to Josh Odom, who sponsored this video, and to everybody who makes my channel possible by supporting me on Patreon.